Okay, we're recording. Let's do this. Welcome to the Joy of Freelancing number 2. Hello, I'm Alan, and today's episode we have our guest, Mr. Enrico Gruner. Did I say that right? Mr. Enrico Gruner.
Not quite, but don't worry. Yeah, thanks for having me.
He's at Dev Creation DE on Twitter, and welcome. Welcome. Here you are.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
And
And don't worry about the name. My wife also can't pronounce it.
I'm not very good at saying. You said you are German, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not good at saying German names. Not the best. I'm Australian. We have terrible pronunciation of everything. Well, I'll quickly share a quick a quick tiny backstory of how you got here. I've recently put out the start of the show, asked on Twitter and said, hey, who wants to come on the show talk about freelancing? And Enrico here said, hey, yeah, or he put a hand up, and I was like, okay,
Yeah, right.
yeah. He put a hand up, and I reached out, and we had a back and forth, and it seems like a great fit already from what we were talking about on Discord and stuff, and here's Enrico. So we'll get straight into these questions that I've got. We've got 10 fabulous questions we've got today, and the first one is the easy one. It's just introduce yourself to everybody. Who are you? And share a brief overview of your background in the tech industry.
Yeah, sure. So, as you said, I'm Enrico. I'm 32 years old. I live in Frankfurt. And I'm doing web development since I'm 9 years old. So, I'm in there for quite a long time now, since 1999.
Wow.
And I got into web development thanks to my grandmother because she got a book about HTML. I will never forget this book. It was about easy HTML, and I started playing around with it. And this was fun for me because also my uncle brought me to the whole computer universe. And finally, I had something that would run on my computer, on my bad computer. At that time, it was an AMD K6 233 megahertz.
Whoa.
I was playing with Notepad and HTML, and I wrote a whole website with that. I also still remember it was about game Final Fantasy. I did everything by hand. And I met other people who were also like programming PHP back then. And they taught me about this. Hey, you don't have to copy over the navigation all the time again and again. You can use PHP. Here's that include comment, so to say. And then, I got hooked up on PHP. And this was kind of the start of my journey. And throughout my whole life, I never stopped playing around with programming languages or with the internet. I also set up game servers. I played with Linux, and all that kind of stuff. Once I had my foot into tech, I never stopped following trends or anything like that. I always kept myself busy with that. And another aspect of my life was also the English language. I started really early to learn English and to travel. And since I was born in Europe, lucky enough, I got to travel a lot to Spain, England, America, and also China, where I met my wife. And so there's a lot going on. Love traveling, love meeting new people, which is also part of the reason why I'm on this show here. And that's basically me.
Wow,
I love technology and traveling, so yeah.
That's a thorough background. We've thrown in with travel there. Travel does love to go with tech, like the old typical freelancer would love to work and travel at the same time. That's what they say. A lot of people do it out there. That's a great background you got. All the way back to 9 years old. Wow.
Yeah.
So to talk freelancing straight up, how did you get started in freelancing, and what motivated you to go down this path?
Well, I was not very satisfied with school. I was in middle school, so not the best school background, and yeah, I had this like this is kind of a how you say that, like so many developers have this problem that they have this god complex, and I also had it back then. So I felt like I could do everything, and
Oh yeah.
yeah, and and so I quit school. And without proper education, the only real thing you could do is just say, "Hey, I'm gonna make my own company. I'm going to show you how this works." And I think I did that when I was 16 or 17. Yeah, this was the starting of my freelance career, so to say. And also, this was the time when I bought devcreations.de. So it's already quite old, also. Yeah, and I made my first mistakes at that time also. So I got my first clients, and I just sold myself very cheaply to them,
Mm,
because
mm,
I thought, oh, that's so much money. Like when you are not that old, Twitter wasn't a thing. YouTube was just like a small website. Not everybody was using it, and you didn't know what other people were doing. So you said, "Hey, yo, $5 an hour sounds like great. Let's do this." And yeah, as you can think, like I couldn't have a like sustainable living or something like that. And I was really lucky that I received my Call of Duty really early, and then had to join the German army. And I used that as an excuse that I
wow.
couldn't go on freelancing, you know.
Yeah.
But the army kind of brought my life back on track, and I stayed in the army for 2 years. Usually you just have to stay 9 months, but I, yeah, kind of sticked with the troops. And after 2 years, I went back to school. I made my high school diploma, and I went to university, and got a degree, bachelor's degree in computer science. And after that, I joined a company. I was just like working 9 to 5, and yeah, that kept, I think, 2 years. And after that, I thought I would go back to freelancing. I found myself clients, and this time much better paid. This time really successful, also without excuses, and sustainable. And I'm a full-time freelancer now, so, or full-time self-employed, I should say, because I also have employees now. But started out freelancing, and yeah, so that's the current.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's
that's
awesome.
also how I got into freelancing. That
That's awesome.
is
That's awesome. You started young, and it was like the early days of tech, and then you got like you went into the army. Did like is that like mandatory in Germany? Is that
it
mandatory?
was mandatory. It was
Yeah,
mandatory for 9 months, but I
yeah.
extended the contract up to 2 years. Yeah,
So you stayed. You're allowed to stay longer. Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So you had this experience with the army and all that and stuff. And that would have been that would have been an experience too. And yeah, like you said, it sorted you out, and yeah, that's great. And then now you're back, and now you're doing it full time. You got employees, everything self-employed now. I wouldn't say freelancing, say self-employed, which is same. We were
yeah.
talking about this off air actually yesterday. We were talking about me and Rico here were talking about um the definition of freelancing. Because he was saying, well, I'm not really a freelancer anymore, but it depends on what your term of freelancing is, right? And no, yeah, and self-employed, I'll take that as well, as because you've got freelancing experience as well, like your career is where you've led up to today. That's great. Here's a question, real quick one. Can I pay you $5 an hour to do stuff right now? Can I just like, you
No,
know,
absolutely not.
can I just slip you $5? Like, oh, Rico, can you do this for me? $5?
It's interesting because like when you go to Fiverr or a website like that, you can find rates like that. You
Yeah,
can find like gigs. Is it called gigs? Or I don't
gigs.
know.
Yeah, gigs. Yeah,
You can find that like create me a logo for $5. That's
yeah,
insane.
yeah.
I mean, because like what you will get is like a template that has been altered a little for you if you are lucky. Um, and because $5, what do you expect?
That's
Like
right.
in $5 I haven't even started Illustrator.
That's right. Um,
Yeah.
I I I have a confession. I made my first my second Fiverr gig on logo making, and I was looking at the competition. Hold on, I was looking at the competition, and I saw obviously $100, $50, and I looked at like some local people in Australia, and some of them were charging $5 or
Yeah.
$10, and I was like, oh, why don't I just get, my first couple of clients for a bit of practice and experience for $5? And I posted it, and I posted it on Twitter, and some people made some comments saying like that's too low, like
Yeah.
that's and I was like, well, okay. And then I've talked to some other people, and actually like when you're starting out on Fiverr, is actually you should put your prices lower to get your first few clients, to get your first few reviews, then raise your prices up as you go. That's what I've
And what you always have to be aware of, like when you do that, when you pitch these prices, you will also get these kinds of customers.
yeah.
So I meet many people who start with like underselling themselves for the same reasons that you just mentioned, and then they get, of course, like um, clients that are tough to handle, to say
Mhm.
the least.
Mhm. Yeah.
And then they get demotivated because they
Yeah.
said, "Oh, my clients don't appreciate my work."
Yeah.
If you pitch your work for $5, you are also not appreciating your work,
It's true.
and then you get these kind of clients, and that's of course like you can't do that for the reason you mentioned to get reviews. But I'm not even sure if these clients would give you a review, and then you can go from there. But it's really just toxic. You
That's
land in a place that is
yeah.
not where you want to be.
A very good point. That's why I've raised my prices now. Now I've raised my prices. I got a client. I got someone. I got a client, and then I didn't do a template job like you sort of mentioned, but I did like a basic, drew something real quick and showed him, and I was and he he approved it, and
Yeah.
and I've raised my prices since then, so we'll go. I agree. I'm worried for everyone else listening as well. What you have to be cautious about those troublesome client stuff. I agree with what you said. Yeah.
When I go
Uh,
on Fiverr, so the other side, just want to mention this real quick. The other side, when you go on Fiverr and you search a gig for yourself, like a logo or something like that, try to find like really people from not that developed countries like Sri Lanka, because $5 for them is really a big deal. But
mm,
don't pay $5 for people who are living in New York or Sydney or something like that, because
yep.
they should really go higher with their prices. I mean, do
Yeah.
that for helping out people. Also be aware of that they need reviews. And if you're in this situation to like having to get a logo or something, and you do that on Fiverr to save a little bit of money because it can be cheap, just try to support people, not just use them for your own good.
100% agree. You're right. It's the price. You're right. We should have mentioned that the price is also depending on the location of the person. So, like you said, like different countries have different prices. Everything, even though the whole website deals with US dollars. So,
Yeah.
like you said, $10 one country is very little, where $10 in another country is a lot. Yeah, I know exactly. Good point to bring up. Um, uh, okay. Rico, what would you say your key skills are, and what technologies do you specialize in? Go.
So I am a full stack developer, so I could spin up a server for you. I could write backend languages like Node.js, or Node.js would be my go-to language, or I can also write PHP or Golang, and I can also write C Sharp. And my main work is in the front end. So I'm doing React, currently mainly Remix. And yeah, of course, TypeScript, CSS, all that kind of stuff. And but I mean, I am like when I work for a customer, they will call me an expert in my field. I would also say that I mastered many of the aspects of front-end development and also back-end development. DevOps is kind of, yeah, just a hobby. um, but these technical skills do not set me apart from anybody else. Like if a client hires me, they wouldn't hire me because of my technical skills. Um, you you have to think about that when somebody hires you. You have to like your question is that's why your question is really good, because that's a question you have to ask yourself before freelancing. What can I bring to clients that they do not get from local developers? Because in the end, that is the thing. And for me, it's always I have the ability to improve my colleagues. And I like to compare that with football, European football. I don't know if you are into football,
Yeah.
but for team sports in general, what makes a good player? A good player is one that can make their teammates look better than they are. And this is also true for developers. I do not have to go to my customer I work for corporate customers, I have to say. So usually I come into their teams and I don't have to find customers and tell them, oh, look how great I am compared to your team. No, that's not what I do. The value they get from me is they will notice how their team improves once I arrive. And that is the value that I bring in.
Right. It's great. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Actually, the soccer, football, European football. So
yeah.
we say so. I'm so used to saying soccer. Yeah, football is a great. Yeah, that's a great analogy. Yeah, you're right. You gotta. You're right. Everyone's got to stand out somehow. What makes you unique? Well, like most developers can build a website. Most developers can do the full like I don't know. The most full stack developers can do all the things you mentioned that you were capable of. You're right. But like, what 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 what's something different that you bring to the table? And that's great. That for you. It's with your colleague, your employee, and you're a team effort, and that's your company. I'm guessing that's your like company mantra. Like that's your like, you're a team all the time, and we do things together, and that's great. That's great.
Yeah, you also always have to think from the employer's perspective, like the company you work for, and when they put a team together, there's and they still hire people. Then for you that means there's something they are looking for. What are they looking for? That's the most important question. Some people search junior developers, and as a freelancer, this will almost never be a position that you should have in a company, because for junior developers, they want to raise them. Like the company really wants to raise them in their like mindset and in their work environment. They want to grow together like that. That's why they are looking for a junior developer. So your positions usually will be senior developer, will be tech leads, or as mentors. Like this is most likely my role, mentor or a consultant. These would be my roles, where I would see myself just to improve the overall abilities of the teams. But like when they are looking for some missing pieces in their teams, ask them what they are looking for exactly. Are they looking for a senior developer? Are they looking for a tech lead? Are they looking for mentors or something like that? If they do not have a strategy, what they are looking for, that's a bad sign.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. What has been your most interesting or challenging project so far, and what did you learn from it?
I think the most interesting project is one that I just finished. I was in a corporate team for 2 years, and this was about logistic processes, supply chain, and all that kind of stuff. They were working in an SAP environment, which I had no experience of. And I got into this team even without experience. And this is something many freelancers who are starting out fear. They do not apply for these kind of roles. But I just applied, and I was also totally honest with them in the job interview back then. I said, "Hey, listen, I don't have any experience. My hourly rate would usually be $120, but because I don't have experience, I would also work for much less. We ended up at $80. So this is also something that I would always do. Like, what do I get and what can I give? And this determines the value I'm working for. And let's be honest, $80 is something you can live with that. And this also already started like that. And then I grew together with the team, and I did what I just said. I was mentoring the team. They even included me in technology choices as an external developer. And into their agile processes, they asked me for advice. They asked, "Hey, what's your opinion on that? You are external developer. You have experience from other companies," and so on and so forth. And this was really like an easygoing environment, really a welcoming environment, friendly environment. And this was really one of the best experiences I had. One of the toughest ones I had was at AIDA. I don't know if you know them. Probably you know the Carnival Corporation, like cruises.
Carnival, yep. Yeah, Carnival, yeah.
And their German branch I think that's their German branch, is called AIDA. And I was invited to their office for a cooperation, and I was asked for some numbers, like do some calculations and everything, and I did all of that kind of stuff. And then, like, I went with another company. We worked together, kind of, and we walked in. We took the elevator to the highest level, and then suddenly everybody was wearing suits. And we were sitting in that meeting, and that was really like the atmosphere was already bad. And they were not satisfied with the numbers that we came up with, and everyone was shouting at each other, and it was really intimidating. And you can also have these kinds of situations, like also in big companies. And this always shows me, like, I don't want to work for people who set up this kind of environment. And I'm glad to go down with my hourly rate if I can have an easygoing environment, what I mentioned before, where I can go in and just be honest and say, "Hey, I don't know that technology, but I can easily learn it," and that kind of stuff. And also another project I didn't get that AIDA project,
Okay.
but another thing I want to mention is, like, so many freelancers work for small companies where they are the only developer, the only one working for these customers. And I also do that from time to time. And one day I saw this offer on the internet, and they said, "Oh, we need a quiz app for our students, and we are looking for a developer for that, iOS developer." And I had absolutely no clue about iOS, but they also wanted an Android app. And so I said, "Okay, I can use React Native for that because I'm familiar with React."
Yep.
And I didn't think I get that job, but in the end I got it. And then and then I quickly had to buy a MacBook to build the iOS app and to test it, because at that time I didn't have one. So like I said, this is just like for encouragement. Maybe even you don't have the devices, you don't have all the experience, you can still get it. And the customer in the end was satisfied with the application. So if you just put your heart into it, they will recognize that, they will see that, and you have to be honest, you have to communicate well. I think these are the most important lessons that I've learned throughout all of my projects, whether this is a big client or a small client. Be honest up front, be also honest about your wages. You don't have to know everything. It doesn't matter because companies also cannot find other people who know everything. And yeah, these are, I think, most important thing. Technical skills are not that important.
Yeah,
Um,
soft skills are up there. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah.
that is also one thing. Like people tell me, oh, you know so much about the technical side, and you have to keep that for yourself because that's your selling point. But I always like if some people ask me
Yep.
about the technology, about how this is working or how that is working, I will tell them because I don't see this as my selling point.
Mm. Right.
Technology changes. I have this. I can teach myself,
Mm.
and I have ways to do that and ways to stay motivated and everything else. And this is my uh, my main selling point, so to say, because when the technology changes, everything I taught to the other people is invalid, but I can still go on because I have this um, way to teach myself.
Right. This actually ties into the next question perfectly, actually. How do you stay up to date with the latest trends and advancements in technology these days? What's your trick?
There isn't really a trick to it, but there is really a general approach that you can follow, regardless of the field you are working in. And this is follow the ones in your field that have something to say. Like if we are talking tech industry and if we are talking web development, then there are several people that you should follow. I mean, for every software developer, it's Uncle Bob. That is the number one. You have to read his books. I'm not sure. Are you familiar with Uncle Bob?
No, I haven't heard about Uncle Bob. No.
Uncle Bob is Robert C. Martin, and he wrote the books Clean Agile, for example, or Clean Code, Clean Coder. Those are his books.
Oh, I've heard about that.
Um,
I think I've heard of them. Yep, yep.
and you should follow the people in your field that like write these state of the art books. Or if you are on Twitter, you have to follow people on Twitter like Theo from PingGG or Jake Archibald, for example. He has this HTTP 203. I don't know what's that podcast.
Yep.
Where they talk about current web technologies with guests from the industry, like for example Casey Evans. If you are doing web animations, follow Casey Evans, or Yuna Kravitz, also incredible Chrome advocate, I believe. Um, you have to follow these amazing people because they share for free. They share the latest technology trends, like the people from Google Chrome. They share what's new with Google and from the capabilities of the browser you are working with. This is my main tool, the browser.
Mm.
And when I read, I think last month, Google Chrome started to support CSS nesting. And this is already an example. Like if when I read that, I know, oh, okay, Chrome has the capability now. And then I go, of course, check the other browsers, whether I can use that new feature or not.
Right.
And just follow other people. That's the easiest way to read books. And that's the
That's a good one.
easiest
I
way.
agree. I agree that just in the social sphere, it doesn't have to be Twitter specifically. Twitter's the good place because people write stuff. It's a writing platform, or mostly. Yeah. Even like you could even say following, the people talking in videos on YouTube about it as well.
Sure.
Following the trends
HTTP
in YouTube.
203 is a good example for that because that's also on YouTube.
There you go. Yep. That's good. That's good. Good. That's good. I like that. Hearing about that. That's how you do it, and that's how people should do it. That's what I'm doing. That's what keeping reading what people are saying. Even though Twitter's all over the place, you'll get a lot of good information on there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, sure.
okay. Here's the big juicy question for everyone listening at home is what can you share with us some tips and resources for finding and securing freelance projects in the tech industry?
Mm, I mean, it's like also depends on where you live. Like there are some things like Toptail, I believe, Toptail or something like that. Um, because these kinds of websites have a like process, and they have big companies behind them, and then you are part of a bigger team. And this is something that I always would prefer. But it also depends on where you live, because you have websites like Malt, MALT.com. This is where I found some gigs, for example. But this is Europe only. So for the European listeners.
Oh, okay.
And because you have these like regional specialties, it's really hard to say. I would really give you the advice, when you start out freelancing, try to start out in a corporate environment. Like for example, on TopTal or something like that, they have a selection process, and then you also can be sure that you will be connected with a client that requires your abilities that you bring on the table. And you also have the security that TopTal, like they have this process where they evaluate you, and then you have the security. Yes, I have a skill that is needed. Otherwise, you can of course always start local, and when you do that, your rate will be lower probably. But you can of course also work closer with people, go to the restaurants near you or something like that. Also depends on the region, of course, because I know, for example, in China this wouldn't work, because Chinese people have an app for everything. So there's an app, the restaurant registers on that app, and that's it. They don't have a dedicated website. They don't need a dedicated website. But for Germany, for example, usually every restaurant has a dedicated website.
Right.
So this really depends on where you live. And the reason why I always would recommend a corporate environment to start out is you have you don't have that much of a liability. You always have somebody holding your back. You will usually not push to production without anybody from that company looks over the thing you did. And you can't break anything usually. And also you have people to communicate with. You are not alone. This is of course also something. Freelancing can be sometimes something you only do alone. And this is difficult for many people, and it doesn't have to be. You can work, like I said, in bigger teams. You can be part of something, and as long as you bring something to the table, that's the only important thing here.
I've written those websites down. We'll put them in the show notes. I'll put them in the show notes for the people, just for if there's any for the European listeners, malt.com. I'm just having a look now. It's got Belgium, it's got Switzerland, Germany, Spain, France, United Kingdom, and Netherlands. So they're the countries that they operate from. And TopTal,
Yeah.
I've tried, actually, I checked this out a while ago. TopTal.com is its tagline, hire the top 3% of freelance talent. So when you apply, I'm just saying, it's I wouldn't think it's not beginner friendly, because I tried it as a beginner and it turned me away. And
right, but I would say that freelancing is also not beginner friendly per se.
no,
And this is the thing. Like when some people say, "Oh, should I start freelancing or not?" I always say, like, what do you bring to the table? And if you have something that is like, you cannot be a junior developer and say, "Let's go, I go freelancing." That can work in some circumstances. Like I said before, when I was 16 or something, I've also found clients because I pitched too low. And when you don't have anything, you will get these clients, and then of course it will demotivate you.
yeah,
Get your experience, take your time, make your experience. You don't have to rush everything. And I think that's the important thing to do. And the top 3% which they are advertising, it just means our people bring value to your company. And that is also why I said you can be sure that when you go through that selection process, that they can find a client for you. Because otherwise they would reject you.
yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Um, okay, that's some really good tips and some websites for some people. That's good. We'll put that in the show notes for everyone. Let's highlight that green. Completed. All right, Nick. All right. What okay. What what are the main challenges you face as I'm gonna change the word freelancer here to self-employed. What main challenges do you face as a self-employed person in the tech industry, and how do you overcome them? And I'm guess and is it? It's not staff, is it? Like,
What do you mean?
oh, so I was just saying, like, what? Yeah, like, what's the main challenge as as a self-employed person? What's the main challenge? What are the main
Yeah,
challenges in
this
your?
one I got here.
And I was like, and I was guessing, like, is staff a challenge? Like
Oh,
other people
oh,
in.
no. It's also not really finding clients. I mean, many people say, "Oh, it's so difficult to find clients." Um, yeah and no. I mean, the thing is, like I said, when you plan to be a freelancer, you have to be up for the challenge to go out there and like make yourself visible. And this is something many people feel uncomfortable with. Me included. I also don't always feel comfortable to make myself visible and say, look, here I am, and I'm searching for a client. Let's go.
Yeah.
um, but I wouldn't say that this is the most difficult part, actually. Um, it's always a combination of things, I think. So there are times when everything comes together because you still have to manage family, you still have to manage uh, going on vacation, you have to manage your life, your friends, and your clients, and suddenly everything comes together. And the biggest challenge, I think, is when there are problems everywhere. Like I can tell you about my current situation. So I have the contract ran out with my last client, so I do not have a client right now. And my wife is expecting a baby in the coming weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, I also have I also have employees, as I said, and I have to pay them, and
Yep.
they also ran out of clients. So I'm in a situation now, of course, where like everything that can go wrong kind of goes wrong,
Oh
in the same
wow.
time where
Wow.
my baby maybe will come to the world, and this is of course a time where usually you want to take vacation. And you can't always choose these situations. You can't decide what happens next, and life just happens. And you have to be able to accept these situations and to work with that. And I think these combination of challenges that happen like simultaneously, that is the biggest challenge. And you never know which risks come. You can't know that upfront. The risk that you know, so I can't find clients, or like I have to schedule my vacation. These are the risks you know upfront that will happen one day or another, right?
Yep.
But then there will be risks that you don't know about yet. And when they come together with all the other things, that is really difficult to handle. And I think the way to handle that is keep calm, keep a clear mind, put money aside is one
Mm-hmm.
of the most important things.
Mm-hmm.
You never know what happens. And this is also one reason why freelancers earn that much. I mean, when I say $100 an hour or $120 an hour or something like that, other people would say, "Oh, if I had that much money." Yeah,
Oh, whoa.
but
Can I have that?
right. And when I say, yeah, you can earn 300K or 500K in 1 year, no problem. But when I tell you I work 12 months a year without vacation,
Mm-hmm.
I work 12 hours, 16 hours a day because I love my job. I no problem with that. Um, I pay 50% in taxes. So you take a big chunk of that 500K and throw it out the
50%.
window. 50%,
50%.
yes. Yeah.
Is it because of your tax bracket? Because of that 500,000? Like that's the
That's the
German
highest
law.
tax you can have. And yeah.
That's the
Right.
German law. Like you're in 500,000. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's not exactly 50%. I always say 50%. It's
45,
47 or something
47.
like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it is 50%.
Yeah.
And you always have to know that. And also when you are interested in getting employees, for instance, in Germany, it's not that easy. If you pay, let's say, $5,000 a month, in Germany, you also pay taxes on employees. So for that 5,000, I pay 20% in taxes. So if I give $5,000 to my employee, I pay $1,000 in taxes on top of that.
Does the government take that, or does that go somewhere else?
No, that is just the government taking that, and also from that 5,000, that's gross income. So the government also takes 2,000 from that 5,000.
From that employee,
So
yeah, they pay
yeah,
their own tax. Wow. So you
yeah,
pay
right,
tax for paying someone, and then they pay
yeah,
tax on receiving it. Oh, wow. Okay.
right.
Okay, interesting.
And I
Actually
also
interesting.
yeah, and I also pay an accountant. Of
Yep.
course, I would always
You have
recommend
to.
that
Have to. Yep.
yeah.
Yep. Yep.
That is just crazy if you would do that without an accountant. And I can tell you, in 1 year, I think I pay $15,000 for that accountant for everything.
Yep.
Like, I mean, I also get something back, of course, and of course, this is like being calculated with the like this is subtracted from the tax that I have to pay, of course, because these are business expenses. But this is something, of course, most people don't see, and when you don't know that, when you don't see that, then this will come at the most unexpected time for you,
Yep.
and then it will hit you hard.
So,
Um,
what are you?
maybe
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
maybe one more thing. Yeah, sorry. Maybe one more thing about that accountant, because I found myself an accountant that's also doing business counseling.
Right.
And in Germany, that is, I mean, it's not free, but in Germany, that is like very affordable for businesses. If you are serious in going full time, not talking about these side hustlers, but if you are serious in going full time, this is something you absolutely have to do. You cannot go out there, say I do that full time, and then you save the $200 a month for your accountant or for business counseling. That's something you absolutely cannot do.
Right. So that's a pretty good like that's a pretty big answer and some information you've shared about your personal or your company situation. You know, your self-employed situation is that you're in a dry spell at the moment. You're in a downswing, and like the worst time possible with like your baby. You know, with
Yeah, right.
you know, like, and like you said, you'd want to take time off for that, but like you really can't at the moment. You've got you're not just working for yourself. You've got people working under you, and you've got to make you got to pay them. You got to so that's a massive challenge. So what are you hunting? Obviously, you're hunting for clients at the moment, and stuff, and
Actually, not.
not hunting,
No,
not
no,
hunting. So
no.
what is the challenge? How are you overcoming this massive challenge?
I'm really calmed down at the moment because I also put some money aside, of course.
Yeah.
And usually the clients will find me. I mean, I am in a good situation where I can say, I can find a client within weeks. That doesn't really matter for me now. I'm currently creating a course, a CSS course or front-end development course. And just want to also start selling things. I want to build like these. It's not really passive income because you work for it up front, but I want to work on more income streams. I do that together with my employees.
Right.
So we want to create our own projects, and I'm using the dry phase, so to say, currently just to build up these kind of projects. I know clients come and go, and when we have clients, then we don't have time for that. So I'm just taking a deep breath right now together with my employees. We just focus on our company. We want to improve ourselves a little bit, and then we go on again. That won't be a problem.
Okay, sounds okay. There's okay. It's not as bad. It's okay. That's good. It's not as bad as it sounds.
Yeah.
You definitely scared me for a second. Like like you did definitely scared me and anyone listening. Like like that's what you don't want any person self-employed as
Yeah.
well as having employees under you as a self-employed person, to run out of money, run out of clients, run out of revenue, all that. Yeah, but anyway, but it can happen. Like you said, it can happen. You got to prepare for that. Put money away. You know, prepare in advance. Yeah, that's right. Because you gotta. It's not always up, 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 up. Yep.
Definitely not.
Yep. Okay. Talking about life. You know, like we're talking about life today as well as work. So let's have a work life question. How do you balance your manage and balance your work life? And what strategies do you use to stay productive to avoid burnout?
You know, it's a very individual question, of course. So, like I said, for me, my work is a lot of fun, and I love to do that. I can do that all the day. My wife has to drag me away from the computer. I also enjoy that. And the question that the people have to ask themselves is, mm, what is like relaxing for them? Because relaxing doesn't mean do nothing. And I have, of course, work that I do not like, everything tax related, for example, when I have um, to get all the papers together and something like that. And also, one thing most freelancers like, but I do not like, is writing invoices. Um, I don't like that for the fact that it takes time, and
Mm.
I could do something better with my time, of course.
Yep.
Um, but these kinds of things, of course, I don't like. But then I have work that I enjoy. Uh, of course, mentoring my employees is something that I enjoy. Who wouldn't?
Mm-hmm.
Programming is something that I can enjoy. Like just turn on some music, keep programming. It started as my hobby and it became my profession. And I always kept this like young like my young heart filled with passion. I kept this with me, and I can always turn off my brain, so to say, turn on the music and just enjoy myself while programming. um and this is important in the current phase where I'm in, so I cannot really afford to like go out every day or every other day. I can't. And luckily I also found a wife that has not that much interest in that kind of things. Like we
Mm-hmm.
like to go to restaurants, we like to go to see things, to travel together, and
Yep.
this of course is something that you don't do every day. Yeah, we are kind of happy when we just can like go around the block together, do a little sports together, cook together, these kinds of things that you can do also at home and that don't take up that much of your time. Of course, you have to go away from the computer every now and then to clear up your mind. This is really great when you learn to cook for yourself, for your family, because that can be a treat. Um, and yeah, like I said, I also read a lot. I like to read books in my field. That is something that some people I know wouldn't call relaxing, but for me, this is really like when you read books and you have this wow effect. This changed the way I view the world. Like these kinds of situations when you have that is really amazing. I love this feeling. And it also shows you, it also grounds you kind of. It also shows you, oh, I'm not, maybe not the best of the best. I can still improve myself. And this also keeps me going, that I know there are people who deal with these situations in a better way. I can learn from them.
Right.
And yeah, so I don't feel like I have I could suffer from burnout anytime soon. I did once come into this situation where I was depressive, where I was really like in a situation that was close to a burnout, maybe. But yeah, I found help. So I went to a doctor also with that. And and after that, after talking to other people, after talking to that doctor, I think they didn't do anything really with me. I think I just started to talk to him, and then I already felt this like relief. So one way to deal with these situations is, of course, talk to people. Don't be alone. If you have the situation like me now where you don't have a client or anything, I went to my wife after I learned that, and I told her, "Oh, I just lost a client, but well, it's not really lost. The contract ended and didn't get extended." But I just told her, and I also prepared her for that situation because we live together. She has to know that, and I said we are not really in trouble right now. We have enough money. Everything is fine, and I will just take 1 or 2 months off for my projects, and then we just attack again.
Yep.
And yeah, I think people don't talk enough to other people. That's maybe the essence from all of that. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Okay. That's that. All those things. Reading. It's not going out. All those things you mentioned. Having a support network like you with your wife, the good communication, all that. Telling her what's going on with the business, things like that. Whether it's a partner or a close friend, it's always good to have someone to talk to about stuff like that. Yeah, I agree.
Sure, could also be your family. I mean, why not?
Family. Sorry, I mentioned. Yeah, didn't mention family. Family as well. Someone in your
call
family.
mom.
Call mom. Call mom. I'll tell my mom. I'll tell my mom.
Yeah.
Okay. You know what? It's another segue. A beautiful segue. We're talking. Relationships. How Rico, how do you build and maintain relationships with clients to ensure ongoing work? Your strategy.
I follow a little bit like something that I call the Hollywood principle.
Okay.
I don't call clients; they call me. There's I have a hairdresser store where I like to go to. They are not really cheap, and they found a store like in the middle of nowhere, and I talked to that boss one day of that store, and she told me a really great story. I said, oh, you have your store here in this place. I mean, you surely don't have that many clients come around here. And she said, yes, that's on purpose. We do not want clients coming to us like from the street, like they eat ice cream, they go like window shopping, and then they think, oh, I need a new haircut. I go to that store. No, they want clients come on purpose. She want clients seek their store, specifically their store, not any store. And yeah, and this is. I mean, I did something similar with my business, but this made me think about my business. I think like the clients I want to have them because they want me. I don't want clients that want any developer. The work I do for my clients cannot be done by any developer. So if they have something for for junior developers or for anybody else, they can go to find somebody who would take on this task. But if they really seek mentoring, if they really seek a consultant for their business, if they seek somebody who improves their teams, as I said, this is something not everybody can do. And once you find that somebody as a company, you will make sure to save their number.
100%. 100%.
Of course, for the listeners, maybe. Of course, if you never had a client before, it is difficult to build up this situation. And of course, I also had a time where this was not really the case. But here's the thing: I worked for like corporate 9-to-5 jobs before, and I have a good relationship with my old boss, I could go to him any time of the day and say, hey, listen, it's currently not working really well with my business. I'm out of clients. I try to find work. He would help me. He would say, oh, I have this project. I can just set you up on this. No problem. We'll
Wow.
make a 6 months contract. You help out our team. I keep relationships with my former bosses because when I try to find 9 to 5 jobs. So when you have this thing that you say, oh, I think freelancing could be for me, but I have to do 9 to 5 until I can make my side hustle a full-time job. Stay on good terms with your old bosses. This is
It's a good tip. It's a good tip.
yeah.
Really good tip. The old bosses. Yeah, like, you know, it's most freelancing actually comes from, like, everyone usually works 9 to 5 somewhere. Like, it's very rare for someone to, like, straight up start um working for themselves or going freelance. Straight off the bat, they finish high school and don't get me wrong, it can be done. It can be done especially in this digital tech age these days with YouTube and everything out there, like everything, learn everything and online courses and all that, rather than going to university and stuff. But like I'm saying, most people have, in my opinion, most people that I've spoken to or I've seen or I've met over the years that have worked for themselves have usually worked 9 to 5 somewhere first. You know.
Yeah.
Um. So. Yeah. It's not a generalization. It's just it's an observation. An observation for me and from.
When you work 9 to 5 and you plan on going to like work as a freelancer, try to let me put that a little bit differently. If you want to find out whether you can work as a freelancer or not, one good measure that I found is the way you behave in a 9 to 5 job tells whether you are a good fit for freelance work or not. One thing that I have noticed is in modern companies, there's always this, like you have developers, you maybe have project managers, depending on the size of the company. Not everybody works for Facebook. And usually companies have a lack in personnel. So that means they have one or another place that is not filled because it cannot be. Like many technical companies use their developers as managers, project managers. So they expect from their developers to manage like the Jira board or something like that, to manage the tickets by themselves. I have seen that, and that can happen. But what I want to say is that if you can spot the missing links or the missing positions in a company, and you like feel that you could fill them up, and you do that naturally, when you notice you are in that situation, that you filled up an empty space in a company, an empty position, naturally, because you saw this work has to be done, I'm taking it on, then you are a good fit for freelancing.
Yeah.
Because you can spot work that has to be done and you are willingly taking it on without asking, maybe even.
Yeah. We're not being told what to do. Like, you're just
Yeah,
taking
right.
things on yourself. If you're in a big or small company, I was in a big company at one point, and I had many bosses. It wasn't corporate; it was in hospitality, and I just enjoyed my job and my position. I just didn't need to be told what to do, and I was always just, it just needed to be done,
Yeah.
and um, and obviously when the big bosses come in for an inspection, you want the place to be spotless. You want the customers to be happy. You want everything to be beautiful, you know, and it's just, you don't need, rather than, I met people who were like, oh, I'm not doing that because the manager didn't ask me to. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, but sometimes you just got to just do it. Like, you just do, it's not part, it's not one of your job requirements, but it's just you being there on shift in the vicinity of your workspace. Sometimes there's some things that are not in your job requirements that you just do. And
Right.
yeah, like I agree with your point is that if you're a person that needs to be told what to do, yes, that's perfectly fine. That's everyone. Lots of people love having bosses. People love being told what to do. It's easy. You have requirements. You have tasks to do. Yeah, it's all that. That's fine. But certain people, and there are lots out there that find things to do. You know, and if you like, yeah, I agree with you. If you can find things to do in different, if you're in a 9 to 5 and you're finding things to do, and you're enjoying your whatever you're doing, doesn't matter. It could be applied to any job. Um, and that's a lot like freelancing because you don't have someone telling you what to do, and other than a client, and you're doing most things yourself. So yeah, it's the initiative. It's the big initiative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And if you can find these things to do in one company and somebody hires you and you can say, oh, I can spot things to do like that, this is already like a selling point. Like you
Yeah.
can find the work. You work for a project, not for anything else. Like if the project like turns you on, if the project that you're working on can ignite that fire in you, then if you can be passionate about your work and everything like that, then you will probably do fine as a freelancer.
Yeah. All right. We've come to our final question of the night. We're doing work really good for time. We're doing really good for time, by the way. Really good. Um, Final question. How do you see the future of freelancing? Let's say in the tech industry, specifically. We won't say it's freelancing as a whole, but let's
Mm.
say freelancing in the tech industry. How do you see the future, and what opportunities or challenges do you anticipate?
Uh, the issue is, especially in the tech industry, that we don't have enough developers. So the market is I often hear the market is saturated, but I think it couldn't be farther from the truth because the issue is when you are when you are in Germany, we have a like not that densely populated north. And of course, a little bit more like we have these hotspots like Berlin, Hamburg, Munich, Frankfurt. And even in these cities, it's difficult to find developers. And then when you have the smaller cities, like maybe some cities you don't know, for example, Rostock is a city with 200,000 inhabitants. It's tough to find developers in that city already. So I think that freelancers always have to fill up holes in the staffing of companies. And of course, in smaller cities, also in Poland, Iceland, maybe even China in the future. I'm rooting for China when it comes to open the borders. But also Japan, Korea, Nigeria is a fast-growing, developing country. You can see many developers coming from Nigeria. Yeah, but also, of course, the US. I mean, or for you, maybe Australia. I don't know. You said you moved to a smaller city. I don't know about the developer situation there, for example. It's tough for companies because they are also competing. You are not the only one with a competition as a developer. Companies also have a competition, and this is of course also for the staff. Like, who wants to work at company X, Y, Z? I don't want to say X because it's Twitter, but but who wants to work for a random company when they can work for like Facebook, Google, Amazon, when the big names are out there, you know? And this is also tough, but they have to find people with the technical excellence to get the job done. And in a global world that we had before the pandemic, I don't really think that we go back to this kind of a global world. But in this setting, Um, the freelancer market is really what drives our economy, because I know companies. I can drop a name here. The About You company. There's a fashion company.
Mhm. Okay.
When you go on their career website, they specifically have positions for freelancers.
Right.
The whole company, the whole tech department is made up of freelancers. And this is no coincidence. They make billions of dollars every year. Um, yeah, so even big companies really try to fix their staff with freelancers, because
Right.
they bring the expertise. They are not bound to a location. And this company is like their main city is Hamburg.
Right.
And they are not able to find all the developers they need to get the work done. And I think this will be even worse in the future. So um, when you are in a company like Microsoft or Google or anything like that, and you are really good at your job, um, then your workforce is bound to that company. You cannot share your knowledge with other companies, and this is the great thing for freelancers. You can go from one company to another, and you can bring the knowledge that you gained from one company over to another. And this
Unless,
is,
unless
yeah,
you sign an NDA of what you worked
even
on, even
even
with
then,
even then.
because I sign NDAs. But the thing is, when I work in a company like the client I had before, I worked with them on their processes, on their agile processes, and everything like that. And I could only do that because I had the experience from other companies. I can abstract this knowledge and I can say, oh, this is something we already tried and it's not really working that well. This and that were the issues. Be aware of that. They can still try that, but I can make them aware of the issues that may lay ahead of them. And this is something you can do regardless of NDAs. You have your experiences is something no NDA can forbid you to use. Of course, you cannot copy and paste code over. This is not working. But
Right.
everything else, the whole soft knowledge that you gained, this is something you can always apply for other companies. You can take over from one company to another.
Right.
And this is really what makes freelancers so important for the economy. And think about the conflicts that lay ahead of us. Think
Yeah.
about what happens when China, Russia, India, Brazil, South Africa, and all of these companies work together. Suddenly, we have this East-Western conflict again. One of the most important things in the competition between the East and West then will be technological advancement. And this is something um, where freelancers also, of course, come in. And this is also one reason that would drive, I think, the American and like Western economy, because in in the Asia Pacific room, they don't have that much of a freelancer culture, and this is just building up in these areas. And I think China also doesn't want that. So
Yeah.
this could
Yeah.
give us an edge, because, as I said, you can bring experience over from one place to another. Which other position could do that in this magnitude?
So it's a good future. We've got a good future in the industry then. We've got a we,
Yeah, right.
it's not
I
it's
mean, it's
I'm so
it
impressed. I'm so impressed you did not use the two letters AI in that whole answer. And
because technologies come and go. The skill set you have to have varies, and not everything requires cutting edge technology.
mm,
Much of the world is still, like in the banking sector, is still built in a programming language that died 50 years ago,
yeah.
and COBOL, I think, is it? And they try to find developers for that. They would hire freelancers. They will pay them a lot of money. Like 200K is, I think, not enough anymore.
Wow.
So programming
Right.
languages don't die that easily.
All right. That's it. I'm becoming a Cobalt developer. That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
This is all right. All right. That we'll wrap things up today. That's 10 fantastic questions with all that information and answers. I hope you've enjoyed that. I certainly have. That's a lot. My brain's going overload with information right now. It's fantastic. Thank you, Enrico. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for sharing
Thank
your
you for having me.
story. Thank you for your advice. And where can people find you, connect with you, and possibly hire you? What's going on?
Yeah, of course, on Twitter at devcreationsde. You mentioned that. Just reach out to me. We can have a chat on Discord, for example, or Google Meet. I love to share my knowledge. Yeah, I just love to talk to people.
You mentioned at the start of the show that you were going to be selling some courses at some point as well.
Yeah, right. I think I will start out with Udemy. I already made a Udemy course, not that great. It was my first course, was my first try.
Yeah.
Yeah, that course will probably come out in the upcoming months, and I will share that, of course, on Twitter.
Awesome. About CSS and
yeah,
about CSS and all the things there. We'll be like with things like Sass and Bootstrap and all that, all the different versions.
No, actually, it will just be like a mindset you have to have, like CSS mindset and techniques that you can use in CSS that you can transfer to any of these tools. Like you can use this knowledge that you obtain there to create Tailwind components or anything you like.
Awesome. That was a nice preview. That's nice. Check it out. Dev Creations, one word. Dev Creations DE on Twitter. That's Enrico. Thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you. And you know what? Thank you to the listener and the viewer. Thank you today. Thank you for.
Yeah. Thank you.
I hope today's been good. I've learned a lot. I hope you do too. And askatonaforme.com, askatona.com, sorry, is for everything I do, including the Joy of Freelancing newsletter that's coming up soon. We're building subscribers at the moment. We're going to be putting some information that we get from the podcast into these newsletters as well. So it's going to be a newsletter and a audio video podcast at the same time. Not released at the same time, but you get what I'm saying. Anyway, thank you again. Thanks, Enrico. Thanks, everybody.
Thank
See you
you
later. Thank you.
Bye.